During a delightful summer vacation alongside his beloved family, Nagasumi Mikishio found himself in a perilous situation as he struggled to stay afloat in the vast expanse of the Seto Sea. However, fate intervened in the most extraordinary way when an enchanting mermaid emerged from the depths, extending her compassionate hand to rescue him from the clutches of the unforgiving waters, unbeknownst to Nagasumi. This fateful encounter would mark the beginning of a remarkable journey that would forever alter the course of his life. Afterward, it is revealed that during Nagasumi's visit to his grandmother near the Seto Inland Sea, his parents expressed concern about his academic performance. However, his grandmother reassures them, citing Nagasumi's father as an example. The next morning, Nagasumi begins to drown in the sea but is saved by a mermaid who brings him ashore. In the evening, Nagasumi's father locates him, and they both return to Nagasumi's grandmother. Later, he reveals the truth to them, and his grandmother responds by mentioning the long-standing legends of mermaids in the Seto Inland Sea. Though the legends could spell trouble, his parents dismiss it as a joke. Suddenly, Sun Seto, the mermaid who had saved him, appears at their doorstep in human form. Surprisingly, she requests him to marry her and take responsibility. His parents become furious and start beating him, but their actions are interrupted by the sudden arrival of the Yakuza, who forcefully take Nagasumi and his parents under the sea. Later, Nagasumi wakes up in a mermaid house at the sea's bottom, encountering Sun's parents, Gazaburu Seto and Ren Seto. Afterward, Gazaburu, the Yakuza head of the Seto group, reveals the mermaid law. Those mermaids who reveal their true form to humans face death. Furious, Gazaburu blames Nagasumi and prepares to kill him. However, Sun disrupts the situation. Consequently, Ren informs Nagasumi that an alternative solution can be found where neither of them has to die. According to the mermaid law, if someone who knows Sun's true form becomes a part of their family, there will be no issue. Sun's mother insists on Nagasumi marrying her daughter, and Gazaburu reveals that Nagasumi has only two choices. He can either marry Sun or they will eliminate every human who is aware of their existence. Nagasumi refuses and attempts to flee, but Gazaburu orders his men to execute him. While escaping, he is attacked by Shark Fujishiro, but Sun comes to his rescue. She helps him escape and advises him to run away. Nagasumi asks her why she defied the mermaid law, and she explains that she can't ignore someone dying in front of her. Suddenly, Gazaburu arrives with his men, ready to kill Nagasumi. He commands his octopus Nakajima to throw Nagasumi and then proceeds to prepare for his imminent demise. However, to end the commotion, Nagasumi agrees to marry Sun, but Gazaburu, a possessive and hateful father, opposes the marriage. Later on, a surprising truth is revealed. Nagasumi and Sun, despite being junior high students, have become engaged, while Gazaburu remains confined in a cage. The following day, Nagasumi's grandmother proposes that he take Sun on a date to the Bon Festival dance happening that evening. She hands him some money and encourages him to seize this chance to grow closer to Sun. Later on, Nagasumi meets Sun, dressed in a yukata, radiating a happy yet shy aura. While buying cotton candy, she insists on paying for herself, impressing Nagasumi. However, the shopkeeper gives her a large portion and Nagasumi a small one. Sun reveals that the stalls are operated by their gang, and Nagasumi realizes that the shopkeepers are Gazaburu's henchmen. Sun discloses that her human legs cannot be maintained if they become wet, and now Nagasumi must find a way to dry them for her legs to reappear. Later, Gazaburu stumbles upon Nagasumi and his daughter alone, believing something inappropriate is happening. He prepares to attack Nagasumi, but Masa intervenes and explains that Nagasumi was only trying to help Sun dry off her legs. Subsequently, Sun becomes aware of her father's murderous intent towards Nagasumi and becomes enraged. She demands an apology from her father, but he leaves instead. Fueled by anger, Sun chooses to stay by Nagasumi's side, separating herself from Masa. The mermaid's voice is their weapon, emitting ultrasonic waves, and apologizes to him. In a heartwarming gesture, Nagasumi purchases a ring for Sun, bringing her overwhelming joy, and she decides to wear it constantly. They participate in the Bon dance, and Nagasumi seeks Masa's guidance to learn the dance. Unfortunately, Sun feels heartbroken, believing Nagasumi would ask her instead. She runs away, and Nagasumi chases after her. Sun notices her ring is missing, and Nagasumi, overwhelmed with sadness, Sun bursts into tears, and Nagasumi realizes her genuine feelings. To make amends, he resolves to find the lost ring, and Sun accompanies him. Unbeknownst to them, Gazaburu overheard their conversation. Later, Ren gives Sun the ring, revealing that Gazaburu found it. Nagasumi expresses gratitude, but Gazaburu, consumed by anger, hurls the ring away, only for it to land on Masa's finger. Sun becomes frustrated and lets out a scream. The following day, Gazaburu hires an assassin to eliminate Nagasumi, while Nagasumi's parents inform him that they have to urgently return to Saitama due to work. They advise him to relay this message to Sun promptly, leaving Nagasumi feeling a bit puzzled. However, it is later discovered that Gazaburu has arranged for them to spend time on a deserted island with Sun's friend, Maki the conch. Though Maki appears shy, she is a bodyguard and assassin. After reaching the island, Masa departs, promising to return in the evening. Sun reveals that the entire island has been reserved for their use, and she goes off to secure her belongings in the shade. Meanwhile, Maki discloses her true identity as a Seto bodyguard, assigned to protect Sun. Threatening Nagasumi with her life, Maki warns him that she will eliminate him before they leave the island. However, Sun interrupts, inviting them to go swimming. Nagasumi becomes wary of Maki's true nature and resolves to be cautious in her presence. Blushing, Nagasumi watches as Sun changes into her bathing suit, only to be swiftly smacked by Maki. A snake startles Sun, but Maki swiftly dispatches it with her water gun. Consumed by jealousy, Maki showers Nagasumi with water bullets, prompting him to seek refuge behind a rock. Despite Maki's interference, Nagasumi cleverly distracts her, allowing him to throw her aside. Seizing the chance, Sun asks Nagasumi to apply sunscreen on her back, only for Maki to intervene. Nagasumi's intentions waver as Maki launches a surprise attack, delivering a powerful slap. Unexpectedly, Nagasumi confesses his mixed motives and entrusts Maki with the task of applying lotion. During their swim, Sun reveals her inability to maintain her human form when wet, eagerly anticipating her transformation upon reaching adulthood. Maki suggests exploring a deep coral reef, and Sun agrees, despite Nagasumi's inability to withstand the water pressure. As Nagasumi's body suffers the effects, Maki seizes the opportunity to question Sun's future with a fragile human. Sun leaves to dry herself off, and Nagasumi regains consciousness. Maki threatens their relationship, but Nagasumi surprises her by expressing his willingness to die for Sun. Maki attempts to harm Nagasumi, but Sun intervenes, having seen through Maki's true intentions. Maki apologizes tearfully. On their way back, Nagasumi informs Sun of his imminent departure, but she shocks him by declaring she will come to live with him. The next day, as they depart, Nagasumi spots Gazaburu clinging to the train window. To Nagasumi's surprise, Maki reveals she is coming to live with Sun to protect her and is found in his bag. Back in Saitama, Nagasumi shows Sun her new house, but deep down inside, he realizes that his daily life activities are going to be affected now. Later, Maki argues with Nagasumi, but his parents become a fan of her cuteness and scold him. Afterward, Nagasumi is forced by his parents to leave his room for Sun and live in the attic. However, out of shame for her husband, Sun insists that she'll live in the attic. Impressed by her maturity and calmness, Nagasumi convinces her to let him live in the attic. Later on, Sun and Maki accidentally enter the bathroom while Nagasumi is taking a bath. Consequently, Sun gets embarrassed and breaks the bathroom wall using her mermaid's voice. However, she gives gold coins to Nagasumi's parents as a token of compensation and they become her fan. Maki uses this opportunity to frame Nagasumi and lies that he deliberately took a bath at a time when Sun was supposed to. Consequently, Nagasumi's father smacks him and starts consoling Maki. The next day, after helping Sun set up her room, Nagasumi suggests going shopping so he can show her the neighborhood. Sun tells him to take Maki along, but Nagasumi notices that she's fast asleep. He uses this as an opportunity to spend some alone time with Sun and they leave without Maki. Later, Sun gets impressed by the modernization of a metropolitan city and Nagasumi enjoys his time to the fullest. Suddenly, they notice some perverts harassing a few schoolgirls and Sun intervenes. However, Nagasumi advises her to not get involved with them, but before she can do anything, another girl shows up. Nagasumi realizes that she's the disciplinary committee member of his school, Marries and Agata. Maori coerces Nagasumi to fight the goons, however, he grabs them and throws himself into the river. Then, Maori jumps in as well and they get surrounded by the goons. Fortunately, Sun saves them and defeats the goons. However, Maori notices Sun isn't coming out of the water and gets confused. Suddenly, Nagasumi realizes that she's still wet and joins her to take her somewhere safe to dry off her legs. Later, after drying her legs, Maki arrives out of nowhere and starts shooting water pressure bullets at him. Afterwards, Maori interrupts them and Nagasumi is forced to pretend that Maki is a doll to secure Maori's life. However, Maori gets appalled by Nagasumi's obsession with dolls and leaves. Back at home, Maki reveals if push comes to the stove, she'll assassinate Maori. While taking a bath with Sun, Nagasumi accidentally enters the bathroom and Sun screams again. On the other hand, Maori falls into an inferiority complex because of Sun's beauty. Fortunately, as the daughter of the superintendent of the police, she manages to motivate herself to perform her duty with determination tomorrow. On the first day of Nagasumi's new semester, he feels nervous as many things have changed. Sun is now attending the same school, and they decide to keep their relationship a secret. While walking to school, Nagasumi encounters his friend Hideyoshi Sarutobi, also known as Chimp. Chimp's lecherous nature leads him to act inappropriately towards Sun, but Nagasumi intervenes and warns him to stay away. Later, Maori informs Nagasumi that Sun will be in their class and questions him about their relationship. Their conversation gets interrupted by the class representative, who announces the arrival of a new homeroom teacher. To Nagasumi's surprise, it turns out to be Gazaburu, Sun's father. Gazaburu introduces himself in a commanding manner, and then Sun enters the class, leaving everyone shocked upon realizing their relationship. In a fierce confrontation, Gazaburu becomes furious with Nagasumi for sitting next to his daughter. However, Nagasumi stands his ground and fights back. Eventually, Gazaburu leaves, and Sun reveals that her father likely became the teacher to keep an eye on them. Later, Nagasumi takes Chimp to the nurse's office, where he encounters Ren, who shocks him with her presence. Ren explains that her family's connections in the Ministry of Education led her to work at the school. She knocks out Chimp and playfully flirts with Nagasumi, causing him to feel embarrassed and flee. While running, Nagasumi runs into Masa, who has become the new maths teacher. Masa notices that Nakajima's anthropomorphism is off, and Nagasumi gets attacked by Shark Fujishiro, the new PE teacher. As Shark Fujishiro chases Nagasumi, Sun intervenes with her powerful howling voice. Initially appearing serious, Sun surprises Nagasumi by revealing her joy at her family becoming closer to her. Motivated by Masa's encouragement, Nagasumi sets his sights on becoming the kind of man that Sun will truly fall for. The following day, he firmly instructs Chimp to maintain a respectful distance from Sun. But Chimp remains oblivious to Maki's true nature, mocking Nagasumi in the process. Nagasumi attends classes with Gazaburu, Masa, and Nakajima, but his efforts fail to impress any of them. At a tempting moment, Chimp suggests peeking into the girls' changing room, but their plan is interrupted by the sudden appearance of Shark Fujishiro. Chimp hastily retreats, leaving Nagasumi vulnerable to Shark Fujishiro's predatory instincts. Determined to escape this dire predicament, Nagasumi summons his resolve and manages to flee from the perilous situation, inciting the wrath of Maori. Confronted by Maori, she demands an explanation for Nagasumi's presence in the girls' changing room, but he skillfully navigates the conversation without divulging the truth. Overwhelmed by the stressful nature of school life, Nagasumi finds solace when Sun arrives on the scene. Sun commends Maori for her responsible behavior and assures Nagasumi that she holds no anger toward him. She proudly declares herself as his bride-to-be. With Sun's unwavering support, Nagasumi resolves to endure any hardship that comes their way, solidifying his determination to be by her side no matter the challenges they may face. Sun becomes the center of attention at school, capturing the curiosity of her peers, while Nagasumi finds himself on the receiving end of teasing from his friends. Just then, Maori comes to his rescue, surprising Sun. It is revealed that Nagasumi and Maori have been friends since childhood, even winning a Karuta contest together in grade school. Excited by the memories, Maori challenges Nagasumi to a Karuta game, teaming up with Chimp. Known as the undefeated Queen of Karuta, Maori has never lost a match. Nagasumi partners with Sun, and the competitive game unfolds. To everyone's surprise, this time Sun emerges victorious, and Nagasumi applauds her win. Later, Maori realizes she is caught in a love triangle with Nagasumi and Sun, leading her to become frustrated. Determined to take action, she decides to get fired up starting the next day. The following day, Maori adopts an extra strict demeanor and notices Nagasumi emerging from the same house as Sun, raising further questions about their relationship. Maori, consumed by curiosity, interrogates Nagasumi about living under the same roof as an underage girl. She attempts to tempt him with Katsuden, leading Nagasumi to reveal their living arrangement. Shocked by this revelation, Maori's anger provokes Gazaburo to torment Nagasumi. Thankfully, Ren steps in to rescue him from her husband's clutches. In a twist of events, the class rep accidentally splashes water on Sun, causing Maori to catch a glimpse of her tail. However, Nagasumi swiftly intervenes, shielding Sun from suspicion. Later, he manages to dry off Sun's legs before Maori can intervene, further fueling her doubts. Determined to uncover the truth about the Sito family, Maori resorts to constantly trying to expose Sun by throwing water on her. With each attempt, Nagasumi comes to Sun's rescue, thwarting Maori's investigations. Maki proposes the idea of assassinating Maori if things escalate, but Sun insists on keeping the peace. In the evening, Maori deliberately unleashes a horde of cats to expose Sun's true identity. Despite her fear, Sun bravely faces the cats, determined to protect Maori from Maki's threat. Filled with anger, Nagasumi scolds Maori for her harsh treatment of Sun. Overwhelmed, Maori bursts into tears and flees, unaware of an approaching car. Nagasumi swiftly intervenes, rescuing her from danger while Sun uses her mermaid voice to flip the car, ensuring their safety. Later, Maori regains consciousness in the hospital and sincerely apologizes for her behavior. A mishap causes Chimp to accidentally splash water on Sun, but Mallory immediately covers her legs, deciding to keep Sun's true identity a secret as a gesture of gratitude for saving her life. Chimp inadvertently reveals Sun's powerful voice, but Nagasumi lightens the mood with a joke, which Mallory chooses to ignore. The story takes a turn as Lunar Edemy, a popular mermaid singer in Japan, is portrayed as arrogant and disdainful towards humans. Her manager suggests she visit her childhood friend, Sun, but Lunar becomes infuriated at the idea. It is revealed that Lunar had always considered herself superior, particularly in singing, until she lost to Sun in the Yakuza Children's Singing Contest. This defeat fueled her deep-rooted hatred towards Sun. Despite her prior commitments, Lunar cancels everything to pay a visit to her rival. Meanwhile, Nagasumi and Chimp eagerly anticipate Lunar's upcoming concert, but their excitement is dampened by sudden rain. Chimp leaves, and Nagasumi stumbles upon Lunar, lying in her mermaid form on the sidewalk. Lunar uses her powerful voice in self-defense, leading her bodyguards to seize Nagasumi. However, Sun arrives with an umbrella, and the rain ceases. To everyone's surprise, Sun eagerly rushes to embrace Lunar, but Lunar reacts with shock and swiftly evades her. Sun demands Nagasumi from Lunar's bodyguards, who comply immediately. Later, Nagasumi helps dry off Lunar's legs while Sun reveals the truth to her. Lunar expresses disgust, believing humans are unworthy of marrying noble mermaids. The truth is, she had come to Saitama to flaunt her musical success, but Sun is instead flaunting Nagasumi. Consequently, Lunar's jealousy grows, and she decides to make Nagasumi her manservant, but Sun intervenes. The battle for Nagasumi's attention between Lunar and Sun escalates. The following day, Nagasumi wakes up to find Lunar lying next to him, teasing him with her legs, until Sun steps in. It's revealed that Lunar has been transferred to Nagasumi's class, thanks to her music industry connections, driving all the boys wild. On the other hand, Sito discloses that Lunar is her childhood friend. Then, as a popularity contest ensues, Lunar and Sito's rivalry deepens, causing the class to split into the Lunar faction and the Sun faction. The boys passionately support Lunar, while the girls rally behind Sito. However, Nagasumi finds himself flustered amidst the growing tension. Meanwhile, Maki's condition turns critical after a fierce altercation with Lunar's bodyguards. At Isono 8 Junior High, Nagasumi finds himself caught in the middle of Lunar and Sun's fanboys, facing jealousy and chaos. Just as he is surrounded, Mallory steps in to save him. She blames Nagasumi for the violence that has erupted in the school, and decides to put an end to it as a member of the disciplinary committee. Mallory suggests that the madness can only stop if Nagasumi chooses between Sun and Lunar, ending the tug-of-war between them. Meanwhile, Sun advises Lunar to stop the fighting, but Lunar refuses, determined to crush the opposing side completely. As Nagasumi is thrown out by Mallory, Lunar and Sun's fanboys chase after him once more. However, he manages to evade them and spots Chimp dressed as a monk standing on a telephone pole. Chimp advises Nagasumi that running away won't solve anything and encourages him to have a conversation with both Lunar and Sun. Realizing the importance of mediation, Nagasumi hurries back home. To his surprise, he finds Maki in critical condition, and Ren explains that Sun had found Maki after she got into a fight with Lunar's bodyguards upon Lunar's arrival. This revelation infuriates Gazaburo, who decides to settle the score in true Yakuza style, pulling out a gun and firing wildly. Masa advises Nagasumi to stay out of the dangerous situation, emphasizing that it is not just a fight between Lunar and Maki, but a clash between two powerful families. However, Ren assures them that they will handle the matter without causing any trouble. Surprisingly, Sun reveals her intention to confront Lunar personally. Nagasumi, however, believes that violence is not the answer and proposes a different approach. He meets with Lunar and delivers a message from Sun. "We will settle this through a musical battle." Lunar agrees to the challenge under the condition that if Sun loses, Nagasumi will become her manservant for a lifetime. Intrigued, Nagasumi questions Lunar about what would happen if she were to lose. Lunar confidently declares that such an outcome will never occur. The scene then shifts to the stage where preparations are being made for the upcoming singing battle between Sun and Lunar. Lunar is as confident as ever because she has waited for this opportunity for years. Later, Lunar is ecstatic as her lifelong dream of seeking revenge on Sun on a grand stage has finally come true. However, Gazaburo becomes enraged when he realizes that Lunar has filled the audience with reporters who will cover her performance while Masa attempts to calm him down. As the competition begins, it becomes evident that Lunar delivered the best performance of her career, captivating the audience. The crowd is so impressed that they request her to perform an additional song, much to everyone's surprise. During Sun's performance, she surprises everyone by mimicking Lunar's dance moves and singing her song. As they spur each other on, the power of their mermaid voices starts affecting the audience. Masa explains that mermaid voices have a direct impact on human neurons, and when amplified through microphones, they become overwhelming for human brains. However, Nagasumi realizes that he has developed immunity to their voices. As the singing continues, the audience falls into a trance and begins stripping naked, influenced by the mesmerizing power of the mermaid voices. Maori, disturbed by the scene, decides to intervene and put an end to the concert. Meanwhile, Lunar witnesses the disturbing transformation of her fans and loses control of her emotions. She unleashes an ancient mermaid song called the Song of War, which has the power to manipulate people's minds. If left uninterrupted, it could lead to a bloody catastrophe within the school. The situation becomes critical, and the fate of the school hangs in the balance. To prevent the catastrophic outcome of the Song of War, Sun resorts to using her mermaid voice to control Nagasumi's mind. He transforms, becoming a skilled martial arts specialist, surprising everyone. He defeats the audience members under Lunar's influence and restores order. With the chaos averted, Sun insists that Lunar apologize for her actions towards Maki. However, Maki unexpectedly appears and confesses that her flying attack attempt backfired, resulting in her crashing into a wall instead. The Seto family is left feeling embarrassed for waging a war against Lunar under false pretenses. As time passes, it is revealed that Lunar has decided to move in and live with Nagasumi and Sun indefinitely. During the sports period, an unexpected turn of events occurs when a submarine emerges from the ground, causing chaos and extensive damage to the school property. To everyone's surprise, a man named Kai Mikawa emerges from the submarine and tosses a bouquet towards Sun. He introduces himself as the first son of the Mikawas, a renowned military family famous in Mikawa Bay for nurturing the three great feudal generals, Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu. Kai accuses Nagasumi of stealing Sun from him and lunges at him with a sword, only to be thwarted by a well-timed ball that throws him off balance. Subsequently, Maori warns him about violating the firearm and sword control law. Realizing his mistake, Kai offers a sincere apology and assures that his conglomerate will cover the costs of repairing the damaged property. Maori reveals that Kai is the son of Japan's wealthiest family, sparking excitement among the girls. Kai then surprises everyone by declaring that he came specifically to meet Sun, his future bride. Mikawa tells Nagasumi that he's part of the proud Orca race. He explains that Sun is his childhood friend and the only one who truly understands him. Mikawa shares that 4 years ago, when he was only 10, he used to stay indoors all the time and didn't interact with others. However, one day during a business meeting with his family, Gazaburu brought Sun along. Mikawa was feeling down and depressed, but Sun came to his aid, helping him cope with his emotions and playing with him. This experience solidified his belief that she truly comprehends his innermost self. Later, Lunar attempts to win over Kai, but he dismisses her by comparing her unfavorably to Sun, which drives her to a state of frenzy. Afterward, Kai approaches Nagasumi and asserts that he knows what is best for Sun, more so than Nagasumi himself. He forcefully escorts Nagasumi out of the gymnasium and onto the school grounds, but then unexpectedly clings onto him. Kai confesses that he has a fear of bright, open spaces and prefers dark and confined places. Just then, Sun arrives on the scene and confronts Kai. She points out that he has become someone who relies on money to solve his problems. Sun advises him to seek help from others without using his wealth as a crutch. Moved by her words, Kai decides to depart, promising that he will return with a transformed personality. True to his word, the next day Kai transfers into Nagasumi's class intending to work on his character. Afterward, Kai extends a challenge to Nagasumi, proposing a competition in the upcoming sports festival. Later, when the day arrives, Kai surprises everyone by showing up in a spacesuit for the 200 meters race. Despite his determination, the weight of the suit hampers his performance, causing him to lose while Nagasumi effortlessly takes the victory. The other games continue, and Kai's team starts gaining the upper hand as they dominate in various events. However, just before the final event, Gazaburu notices that Sun's team needs to catch up and decides to make a significant announcement. He declares that the final event, the baton relay, will be worth a whopping 333 points, thereby allowing a dramatic turnaround. In the midst of all this, Kai strikes a deal with Nagasumi. They make a bet that the loser of the final event will give up their pursuit of Sun. Sun assures Nagasumi, and the event begins. Nagasumi takes the lead, but Kai effortlessly passes him due to their stamina difference. As rain falls, Kai transforms into an orca, while Nagasumi wins the race. However, Sun and Lunar also become mermaids. Shimp arrives in a submarine, launching missiles, but Sun's lullaby makes everyone, including the missiles, fall on the ground, causing an explosion. Nagasumi wakes up to find a tall, muscular man in a skin suit standing next to him. The mysterious man issues a serious warning, threatening to kill him if he doesn't take his relationship with Lunar seriously. Later, Nagasumi shares the incident with his friends, but they refuse to believe him and instead mock him. To his surprise, the same man reappears, writing "Lunar is my life" on the foggy window before leaving. Once again, his friends dismiss Nagasumi's claims. Frustrated, Nagasumi confides in Ren, who initially appears intrigued but quickly reassures him not to worry. She instructs him to lie down on the bed and Nagasumi falls asleep later. Nagasumi wakes up in disbelief to find the same peculiar man lurking under his bed. Filled with shock, Nagasumi hurriedly flees from the intruder and coincidentally runs into Kai. Nagasumi tries to explain the situation, but Kai initially refuses to believe him. However, in a startling twist, the mysterious man unexpectedly appears right above Kai's head, which causes him to flee alongside Nagasumi. Forced to venture outside, Kai's insecurities intensify, but their escape is momentarily facilitated when Chimp arrives and hands Kai a spacesuit. They manage to elude the pursuer, but unfortunately, Chimp falls victim to the relentless attacks of the strange man. The cat and mouse chase continues until they reach a dead end. Fortunately, Chimp comes to their aid by throwing a rope from the rooftop to assist Kai. However, Nagasumi intervenes, causing Chimp to fall to the ground. Nevertheless, their escape is successful, thanks to Chimp's intervention. In a bid for self-defense, Kai resorts to using a bazooka against the strange man, but it proves futile. Determined, he unleashes a satellite missile that obliterates the school building. Yet the strange man remains unscathed. The intruder closes in, delivering a powerful punch that sends Kai crashing into the wall. However, just as the situation seems dire, Sun arrives at the scene. Recognizing her, the strange man swiftly covers Sun's mouth to prevent her from utilizing her mermaid voice, but Gazaburo arrives and punches him into the bathroom wall. Despite Gazaburu's relentless attacks, the strange man retaliates by seizing him and executing a forceful suplex, delivering a powerful blow. He interrogates Nagasumi about his intentions with Lunar, but abruptly, Gazaburo regains consciousness, sparking a fierce battle between them. As the fight escalates, the true identity of the mysterious man is unveiled. He is President Edemy, Lunar's father. The clash reaches its climactic moment, with both combatants delivering their final blows. However, the fight ends in a stalemate. Just then, Ren arrives at the scene, accompanied by Lunar. Lunar reprimands her father for causing such chaos, but President Edemy departs, mentioning that he had some business with the school. It becomes apparent that he possesses the worst social skills as he departs in an unconventional manner of transportation. On the medical checkup, an unexpected revelation surfaces. Lunar has gained some weight, consumed by anger and frustration. Lunar insists that Sun joins her in embarking on a diet, as she refuses to endure the journey alone. Meanwhile, Gazaburo eavesdrops on their conversation and begins formulating a devious plan in response. Back at home, Lunar discovers a website showcasing weight loss products specifically designed for Mermaid. To her surprise, she comes across Masa and Shark Fujishiro, who are endorsing one of these products, and Maki reveals that the Sito family has expanded into the home shopping business as well. Inspired by this discovery, Lunar instructs Sun to gather all the weight loss goods offered by her family's enterprise. Unexpectedly, Gazaburo appears with all the necessary items, catching everyone off guard. Among the stuff, Nagasumi finds a mermaid water bottle, prompting Sun to explain that it serves as an energy booster. Meanwhile, Lunar discovers a mermaid aerobics DVD and swiftly takes her leave, accompanied by Sun, eager to begin their weight loss regimen. Later on, Masa prepares a waterfall climbing weight machine for Lunar and Sun. Afterward, Gazaburo motivates Sun and Lunar to swim up the wild rapids like a carp up a waterfall. Meanwhile, the focus shifts to Nagasumi, who accidentally consumes the entire bottle of mermaid water. In a state of alarm, Sun urgently warns him that the water is exclusively meant for mermaids and can lead to significant trouble if consumed by a human. Suddenly, Nagasumi undergoes a dramatic transformation, growing into a colossal figure that inadvertently demolishes the surrounding house in the process. Sun employs her mermaid song to subdue Kai, but Gazaburo reveals that Nagasumi has transformed into a mermaid-like being, granting him heightened resistance to mermaid songs. Nagasumi, in a state of frenzy, wanders, and Gazaburo commands Octopus Nakajima to restrain him. However, Nagasumi overpowers Nakajima, launching him high into the air. Suddenly, Kai arrives and hits Nagasumi with his submarine between his legs, but Nagasumi throws it away as well. Then, with assistance from Chimp, Kai sends Nagasumi onto the moon in space. He prepares to end Nagasumi's life and launches satellite missiles at him. However, Nagasumi survives and starts crying while Sun begs. Seeing her husband in distress, Sun pleads with her father for assistance. In a timely arrival, Ren appears and presents Sun with a lance possessing purifying powers capable of rectifying physical issues. Instructing her to throw the lance, Ren encourages Sun to pierce Nagasumi with it. Ren explains to Sun that her determination to save Nagasumi will determine the purifying power of the lance. With all her strength, Sun launches the lance and successfully hits Nagasumi. He reverts to his normal human form but remains unconscious. Consequently, Gazaburo orders Masa to give Nagasumi mouth-to-mouth, and he wakes up later. To his surprise, his father scolds him and demands that he rebuild the house. It is revealed that President Edemy is in the construction business and he helped rebuild Nagasumi's house. Sun assists Nagasumi's mother in the kitchen for her bridal training, while Lunar shows no interest. Later, Sun goes shopping with Nagasumi's mother, leaving Lunar alone with Nagasumi. Lunar seductively suggests they go to her room. Meanwhile, Nagasumi's father travels in a car with Gazaburo and President Edemy. Ironically, Gazaburo reveals that Edemy is crazy about her daughter but lacks social skills. Back in Lunar's room, Nagasumi's expectations are shattered when Lunar asks him to tutor her. It is revealed that she's failing in all subjects and refuses help from anyone except Nagasumi, as he is her manservant. Despite the awkwardness, Nagasumi manages to teach her the basics but is surprised when Lunar starts rubbing her butt on his lap. Initially, Nagasumi goes along with the situation, but he suddenly realizes his commitment to Sun as her groom and pushes Lunar aside. Frustrated, Lunar pulls him closer and presents him with an ultimatum. He must choose between his marriage with Sun or his role as Lunar's manservant. As they lean in for a kiss, they suddenly notice Maki glancing at them, causing them to become flustered and break apart. Maki orders Nagasumi to get a drink for her, and afterward, she suggests Lunar hook up with Nagasumi. However, he returns with the drink and Lunar starts beating him out of anger. Later, Maki continues telling them to hook up with each other, but Nagasumi claims he's loyal to Sun. Consequently, Lunar gets furious and starts torturing Nagasumi. However, she accidentally spills some water on her and transforms into a mermaid. While Nagasumi helps her dry off her legs, she reveals she's good for nothing as compared to Sun in every aspect of life. However, Nagasumi gets angry and tells her she's a hard worker who's managing her studies with her job. Furthermore, he reveals that he likes her and she tells him to dry her completely. Later, President Edemy enters Lunar's room and finds Nagasumi rubbing her butt. Consequently, he starts shooting bullets at him and reveals that he's going to drown him in Tokyo Bay. At the same time, Sun returns while Lunar stops her father and reveals that she loves Nagasumi. Then her father gives him two options: either die or take responsibility. He takes none, but Lunar pretends he chose responsibility. Afterward, President Edemy takes Nagasumi with him to prepare him for the wedding ceremony. But no one interferes. Kazaburo gets happy that now Sun will be living without Nagasumi, but she blames herself for his departure by calling herself the worst wife. Meanwhile, Nagasumi constantly screams Sun's name all alone in an isolated room. Later, Sun tells Lunar that up until now, she thought she was going to marry Nagasumi, but she was wrong. Sun believes being a couple isn't enough. You have to love each other as well, and Nagasumi loves Lunar. However, deep inside down, Lunar knows Nagasumi doesn't love her, but she decides to pretend he does. While leaving for her wedding, Maki advises her to tell the truth to Sun, but she refuses. Afterward, Sun thanks Nagasumi's parents for all that they did and bids them farewell. On the other hand, Lunar arrives in Nagasumi's room and claims that now the wedding can't be called off because she cannot afford to lose to Sun again. Lunar reveals that her mother abandoned her and left home when she was 5. What's worse is, she doesn't remember having a decent conversation with her father ever, and other than Sun, she never had any friend she could talk straight with, but Sun has it all. Consequently, Lunar begs Nagasumi to love her more than Sun, and later they get prepared for the unveiling ceremony. Surprisingly, Nagasumi notices President Edemy and Gazaburo at the unveiling ceremony. Afterward, Lunar reveals that she first met Sun at the East-West Yakuza get-together. It was a ceremony marking the two groups' reconciliation after years of gang warfare. The ceremony begins and President Edemy officially informs everyone that Nagasumi is the man Lunar is going to marry. Then, he gives him the ceremonial sake. If he drinks it, he'll become an Edemy man. However, Nagasumi refuses and reveals he cannot marry Lunar. He insists to Lunar that she can't force someone to love her and reveals that their marriage was based on lies. Lunar realizes she's in the wrong and discloses the truth to her father, but he hugs her. Afterward, Lunar goes to Nagasumi and confesses that she has developed feelings of love for him, but suddenly, Sun arrives at the scene. She tells Gazaburo that she's cutting her family ties clean through here and now, which shocks him. Since she's no longer a member of the Seto family, she breaks the alliance with the Edemy family and starts a fight. While beating up Edemy gang members, she discloses that she loves Nagasumi and asks for his hand from President Edemy. He praises her resolve, but both the gangs prepare for bloodshed. Lunar knocks sense into Sun and they use their power of singing to calm down everyone. The next day, it is revealed that Lunar and Sun have reconciled. While walking to school, Maki is caught off guard by a kitten and starts screaming for help. Sun and Lunar also back away, revealing that all sea people are afraid of cats. Nagasumi, on the other hand, decides to bring the kitten to school and shows it to Kai, but even Kai runs away in fear. Nagasumi realizes that mermaids are scared of cats and comes up with a plan to use it as a weapon against Gazaburu. However, Masa surprises him by arriving and playing with the kitten, revealing that he overcame his fear of cats during his childhood. Masa then departs, leaving Nagasumi astonished. Suddenly, Gazaburu appears, but Nagasumi shows him the cat, causing Gazaburu to become frightened. Sun later reveals that Gazaburu has had a cat phobia since a cat bit his ear when he was a child, resulting in an infection. During homeroom class, Gazaburu realizes that Nagasumi is intentionally trying to scare him and becomes enraged, dispatching his elite guards to deal with Nagasumi. Later, it is revealed that some exchange students from Seto Junior High will be joining the boys' gym class. Barrio, Agitero, and Maguro, who introduce themselves as Gazaburu's elite guards, join the class. A football match ensues between the Seto and Isono boys. To protect himself, Nagasumi lies to the elite guards, claiming that Kai is Nagasumi. As a result, they beat up Kai and quickly retreat. Gazaburu scolds them for mistaking their target and takes them to Nagasumi. However, Nagasumi throws the kitten at them, causing them to flee in fear. In the chaos, Kai also gets caught up and throws Maguro at the kitten to save himself. Gazaburu activates the fire alarm, prompting everyone to evacuate except for Maguro and himself. However, Ren surprises them by defeating Gazaburo and the elite guard, putting an end to the false commotion. Meanwhile, Barrio gathers the courage to steal the kitten and tosses it into the river. Nagasumi is determined to jump in and save it, but Sun quickly intervenes and rescues the kitten herself. Later, Nagasumi brings the kitten home, and Maki's fear is enhanced. Kai asks Sun to accompany him to a concert, but she refuses by saying she can't abandon her husband. However, Chimp advises him to go on a double date with Sun. In this way, he can lure her out and seize a momentary chance to spend some time with her. Afterward, he asks out Mallory on a date, and the next day they arrive at a park. Meanwhile, the class rep begins developing feelings for Nagasumi and changes her look to impress him. Back at the park, Lunar also joins the four of them, but she gets paired up with Chimp. Out of frustration, she orders Nagasumi to get her a drink and asks Sun to help her get rid of Chimp. On the other hand, Kai and Mallory unexpectedly jump into his special boat. On his way to get a drink, Nagasumi bumps into the class rep and accidentally breaks her glasses. Afterward, he decides to buy her a new pair of glasses, but she fails to recognize him. Unfortunately, Nagasumi notices that he doesn't have any money and later borrows Lunar's credit card. Meanwhile, Kai accidentally falls on Mallory, which creates an air of tension between them, and eventually, they become flustered. The scene then shifts to Nagasumi and the class rep going on their way to the store. She informs him that she is in love with a guy from her class but doesn't disclose the name. Nagasumi advises her to confess her feelings to the guy to avoid any regrets. Later on, they arrive at the baseball ground and Gazaburu forces him to play with the seniors. However, Nagasumi finds an opportunity and with the help of Ren manages to run away. At the glasses store, the shopkeeper notices the premium card Nagasumi and provides them with courtesy transportation. Later in the car, the class rep gets shocked after wearing her glasses, but Nagasumi calms her down. On the other hand, out of confusion, Kai becomes unconscious and Mallory smacks him. Meanwhile, before bidding farewell to the class rep, Nagasumi asks her to disclose her name. However, the chaotic noises of the others hinder her voice and Nagasumi fails to hear her. The next day, everyone continues treating the class rep with the usual behavior because of her regular look. Chimp informs Nagasumi about a ghost haunting the school, described as half fish and half man. Nagasumi suspects it might be the elite guard in disguise. Soon, a new transfer student named Akino Shiranui was introduced by Gazaburu. She sits with Lunar and Sun, asking Lunar why she attends an ordinary school instead of being a pop star. Lunar explains that she's here to take care of her friend, Sun. Shiranui takes note of this. Later, an argument between Sun and Lunar erupts over helping Shiranui with her notebooks. Surprisingly, Shiranui already knows about Nagasumi and Kai. The two boys start fighting, but Shiranui intervenes by attacking Kai with her sword. She reveals that she is a mermaid and her role is to pass judgment on those who fail in the human world. Shiranui informs Nagasumi that the Shiranui mermaid exam has begun and Kai has failed, meaning he must return to the sea. Maki is also under Shiranui's care and unable to leave the house. The exam evaluates how well the mermaids have adapted to the human world. Sun's performance starts to decline under pressure, and Nagasumi becomes concerned. When he asks Shiranui about it, she advises him to talk to Sun directly. However, Sun runs away, unable to share her troubles with Nagasumi. During the sports period, Sun notices Shark Fujishiro targeting Nagasumi and tries to divert Shiranui's attention. In the process, Sun has another clumsy accident. In the classroom, Nagasumi insists on knowing what is bothering Sun. Despite her desperation, she assures him that everything is fine without revealing the truth. Shiranui notices Sun's determination and assures her that she will pass the exam. However, Sun accidentally breaks a vase, and water splashes on her, causing her to transform into a mermaid. Shiranui swiftly pokes everyone's eyes, guarding the door, while Nagasumi helps dry Sun's legs. Kai attempts to fight Shiranui with his sword, but she pokes him in the eye as well. Sun eventually reverts to her human form, but Shiranui becomes angry. They engage in a fierce sword fight, with Sun matching her opponent's skill, and Shiranui unable to land a blow. Shiranui stops the fight, impressed by Sun's exceptional abilities, and decides to give her another chance, stating that the exam will continue. Shiranui defeats the Isono 8's shot caller group, but the next day they become her admirers. She develops an image of a strict and fearful girl at school, therefore Gazaburu decides to show her a lesson. Maori orders Shiranui to give up her revealing uniform, but Shiranui refuses. Later, Sun advises Maori to give some relaxation to Shiranui. On the other hand, Gazaburu plots an evil scheme to overthrow Shiranui's reign, but Ren beats him up. Later, a fight starts between the shot caller group and Shiranui, but Maori intervenes. She launches a huge swamp of cats at them, but the situation calms down after a while. Shiranui prepares to use her sword, but Ren interferes and gives everyone a good speech. Maori apologizes to Shiranui for her aggressive behavior, and she accepts her apology. Gazaburu announces a field trip to Kyoto. And on the way, Sun confides in Nagasumi about her worries regarding bathing together on the trip. Shiranui warns Sun that if she fails to handle the school trip, she will be sent back to Seto Sea. Maki unexpectedly appears, boosting Sun's spirits. However, Maki is secretly prepared to harm anyone who interferes with Sun's exam. Lunar is absent due to work commitments. Upon reaching Kyoto, Gazaburu takes the students to Kiyomizu Temple, but Sun becomes preoccupied with her family. Nagasumi invites Shiranui to visit the famous Ottawa Falls, and she compliments Nagasumi's kindness, but Maki interrupts by attacking Shiranui with water bullets. Despite getting wet, Shiranui surprisingly does not transform into a mermaid. Shiranui clings to Nagasumi and explains the physiological phenomenon that causes mermaids to transform when water touches their lower bodies. Maki takes advantage of this and continues her water attacks. Suddenly, Maori arrives on the scene and Shiranui blames Nagasumi for breaking her trust. Meanwhile, Sun catches Maki, and during dinner, Sun apologizes to Shiranui, who accepts but remains wary. Maori finds Shiranui being inappropriate with Sun and decides to investigate later. In reality, Shiranui is teaching Sun how to maintain her human form in the bath. Maori overhears screaming from the bathroom, but Nagasumi stops her from interfering. Maori agrees to leave, but a loud noise startles her, causing her to open the door and witness Nagasumi and Sun clinging to each other in the pool. Nagasumi quickly separates her from Sun and Shiranui, who reach her limit. Later, Shiranui advises Nagasumi to break up with Sun, but he refuses, stating that he can't break his promise. He apologizes for betraying her trust earlier, which impresses Shiranui, and she decides to give him another chance while cautioning him to be careful. Shiranui's captain gives her a special potion with instructions to use any means necessary to break the relationship between Sun and Nagasumi. Meanwhile, the students of Isono 8th Junior High visit a historical site on their recreation day. Shiranui distributes the potion to the members of the elite guard and tasks them with making others drink it. She offers the same challenge to Kai, promising to nullify his mermaid exam if he succeeds. Later, Nagasumi, accompanied by Lunar, visits a film set where Lunar is shooting her first ever film. Unexpectedly, masked goons disrupt the shoot, causing chaos and destruction. President Edemi arrives and orders Maori, Sun, Nagasumi, Chimp, and the class rep to participate in the film. During the break, the elite guard and Kai arrive with the potion, and everyone except Nagasumi consumes it. The scene then shifts to Shiranui, awaiting the results of her plan. Shiranui reveals that the potion contains a special fluid that unleashes humans' deepest desires, causing them to act solely on instinct. Her true intention is to expose the selfishness of humans to Sun. Unexpectedly, the elite guard accidentally consumes the potion as well, including Shiranui herself. Meanwhile, Lunar attacks Nagasumi in an attempt to seduce him, but Maori steps in to stop her. Nagasumi manages to escape but encounters the enraged class rep, who also falls victim to the potion's effects. Shiranui catches up to Nagasumi and tries to strike him with her sword, only for it to shatter. Despite her captain's warning, she retrieves her secondary sword and continues her attack, just as Nagasumi finds himself surrounded by his intoxicated classmates. Sun arrives to protect him. Despite being under the influence of the potion, she vows to defend Nagasumi and employs her mermaid voice to subdue everyone. As Shiranui prepares to use her special sword immune to the mermaid's voice, her captain interrupts and puts an end to the chaos. He acknowledges that Sun's sincere desire to protect Nagasumi has been demonstrated. However, he insists that Shiranui must fulfill her duty as the administrator of the mermaid exam and complete her task of breaking up their relationship. President Edemy takes a 2-day vacation from work to visit Lunar. Meanwhile, back at school, Lunar is furious at seeing all the field trip photos as she didn't get to spend time with Nagasumi at all. She starts smacking him while he notices President Edemy peeking from the window. He goes outside and Edemy reveals that he was unable to give Lunar's mother the love she wanted. Consequently, he blames himself for not providing her daughter with the mother love she deserves. However, Nagasumi cheers him up and advises him to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Lunar. President Edemy goes inside but accidentally says something else instead, which makes Lunar angry and he leaves. Later on, he stumbles upon a Bishoujo game while surfing the internet and an idea pops up into his mind. The next day, he meets Lunar and she gets embarrassed to see him in a female outfit. Later at school, President Edemy arrives in the class while being cross-dressed as a pretty girl. Lunar gets embarrassed while Gazaburo makes fun of him and challenges him to fight outside. Afterward, Edemy reveals that he embarked on the path of cross-dressing to strengthen his bond with Lunar. He convinces Gazaburo to do the same and hands him a Bishoujo game. Later, Gazaburo orders his henchmen to practice the dialogues of the game as he wants to impress Sun. The next day, Nagasumi wakes up and finds Masa cross-dressed as a beautiful girl. Maki reveals that Gazaburo has ordered everyone to cross-dress as a beautiful gal. Later, Sun meets his father cross-dressed as a maid and she becomes ashamed. The cross-dressing thing causes a commotion at school while the Sito family and President Edemy arrive on the roof. They try to pursue Lunar and Sun, however, Ren intervenes. She gets highly furious and advises Gazaburo and Edemy to have some confidence in their daughters. Consequently, they realize their mistake and apologize to their daughters. Later, Nagasumi notices Sun doing cute cosplays in her room. The class rep sends an anonymous love letter to Nagasumi which tells him to come to the school grounds near the incinerator. However, Maki steals the letter from his pocket and gives it to Lunar, who announces it to everyone in the class. Later, he goes near the incinerator but finds President Edemy and Gazaburo. They declare him a cheater and suddenly, Shark Fujishiro tries to devour him. Fortunately, Sun steps in and uses her mermaid voice to briefly draw everyone away. Afterward, Ren arrives and drags Gazaburo away with him while Lunar drags her father. Later, Nagasumi informs Ren that being an unpopular student, he was excited to receive the love letter. Consequently, Ren gives Nagasumi a magic potion that attracts the girls, but it backfires. All the girls, including Ren and Maki, fall in love with him while all the men become jealous and start beating him. Nagasumi hardly survives the day and back at home decides to take a warm bath. Suddenly, he finds Maki glancing at him and the other girls also arrive to give him a massage. Much to his surprise, Gazaburo intervenes and starts chasing him. The next day, everything turns back to normal but Nagasumi receives another love letter. Later, he goes near the incinerator where he finds Maki and Gazaburo hiding in the bushes. He joins them as well and surprisingly, the class rep arrives in a different attire. Suddenly, Sun arrives and she accidentally confesses her feelings to her. Consequently, she gets extremely embarrassed and the stress of a depressed maiden and unrequited love causes her to transform into the last Amazoness. She vows to make Sun a part of her clan the next time they meet and leaves. Luna requests Sun to help her prepare for the upcoming opera. She tells Sun to become her boyfriend during the rehearsal and Sun agrees. However, Sun becomes quite serious and Lunar starts having second thoughts. Nagasumi volunteers to help her but she declines his offer. Later at school, she asks her classmates to volunteer for a boyfriend role and everyone except Kai goes crazy. Maori realizes that if this continues it'll cause a commotion like before. However, Sun arrives still in her character and ends the havoc. The next day, Lunar strips Sun from the role and instead requests Maki to help her practice ventriloquism. Maki refuses, but due to Sun's request, she reluctantly agrees. Later, Lunar takes Maki to school for practice but things go a little bit south. Afterward, Shiranui informs Lunar that she won't allow her to display Maki on TV but Lunar refuses and decides to go against her orders. Consequently, Shiranui orders Kai and the elite guard to stop Lunar if she tries to escape. Later, Lunar abruptly tries to run away but Kai blocks her. However, Maki uses her flying jet and Lunar successfully manages to reach her car. On the other hand, Sun fights Shiranui and reveals she would do anything for Lunar as she's her friend. Sun changes herself into the boyfriend character but Shiranui agrees to let Lunar go. Meanwhile, Maki notices Sun and flies to the roof to help her. However, Lunar gets injured. The next day, it is revealed Lunar didn't wake up for 3 days and Sun claims she's happy to see her. Shiranui inquires about Masa's knowledge of fencing and questions where he learned his particular style. Masa responds with a negative answer, stating that he has no recollection of his past before joining the Sito gang. His previous memories remain a mystery and he barely remembers the dimmest collections. Afterwards, Shiranui reveals that Masa's swordsmanship style belongs to the Shiranui school, which has been passed down in the Shiranui family. Then, she discloses that she had an older brother who was charged with being the lead examiner for the Mermaid exam. However, she suddenly lost contact with him on a mission. Later, Gazaburo orders Nagasumi to take Shiranui away from Masa and Sun. Moreover, he reveals that 10 years ago, he accidentally gave Masa amnesia. Then, out of guilt, he decided to look after him until his memories returned, but they didn't come back. Another official came and he told him that Masa left his sword before running away. Later in the gym, Nagasumi continuously tries to interrupt Masa from holding Shiranui's sword. Afterward, Gazaburo intervenes and starts beating Masa. Suddenly, Shiranui falls and gets hit with amnesia. However, Masa regains his previous memories and reunites with Shiranui, but she refuses to believe him. She runs away and falls from the stairs. Later, she wakes up in the hospital and becomes normal but doesn't remember anything Masa told him. On the other hand, Masa decides to keep it a secret from Shiranui. Kai goes to the hospital for the treatment of a humiliating disease of himself. He believes if he disclosed it, everyone would start calling him a disgusting man and refuses to do so. However, one day, Chimp goes to the hospital to pick up Kai's medicine, but he overhears the doctor saying Kai has an untreatable disease. Consequently, he gets sad and informs everyone in school. The next day, much to Kai's surprise, everyone starts treating him with respect and protocol. Nagasumi gives him the special of Sun, and Gazaburo decides to throw him a last party before his death. However, Kai is still unaware of this royal treatment and decides to take advantage. Later, he becomes famous in school and everyone in the city starts chanting his name. One day, he notices the broadcast channel stating that he has an incurable disease, which shocks him. The next day, he informs Chimp, but Chimp refuses to believe him and begins crying. An idea pops up in his mind and he challenges Nagasumi to a sword fight. The fight begins and Kai gains the upper hand, but Nagasumi manages to evade every attack. Afterward, Nagasumi kicks him and Kai starts ranting that life isn't fair. He begs everyone to love him and Sun arrives assuring him it's okay to feel this way. Kai's wish gets fulfilled and he pretends to be dying peacefully. The next day he arrives at the school and Nagasumi smashes him in the ground. Everyone realizes that Kai was lying and starts laughing about it. Nagasumi and Sun get into a lover's quarrel. The news reaches the school, but Nagasumi refuses to apologize at first. Kai takes advantage of the opportunity and tries to comfort Sun, but Shiranui intervenes and smacks him. Afterward, she tells Sun to come with her and shows the Seto family an invitation to the Undersea Palace Merfolk Garden Party. She reveals it's a reception hosted by Minamoto no Yashio and he wishes for Seto gang to be there. Gazaburo reveals that Yashio is a rich brat who's a descendant of Minamoto no Yashitsune. He initially refuses to participate, but Masa advises him if other bosses are going. It's a point of obligation. The entire Seto family decides to participate in the event. Back at Nagasumi's house, Sun returns and notices him getting beaten up by Lunar. She gets jealous and goes to her room without telling him about the party. The next day, it is revealed that Sun went back to Seto early in the morning without saying goodbye to Nagasumi. Later in school, Nagasumi realizes that all the members of the Seto family are missing. Kai and Lunar find out the Seto family has gone back for the party. Lunar reveals that Yashio is a sick man who's famous for using parties as an excuse to do nasty things. Kai and Lunar realize that Sun is in danger, so they decide to rescue her. On the other hand, Nagasumi gets anxious by recalling his memories with Sun. The scene then shifts to the Seto family standing at the entrance of Yashio. He arrives and starts flirting with Sun. However, suddenly, the Seto family becomes unconscious due to a gas. Meanwhile, Maori motivates Nagasumi and he realizes he needs Sun. Suddenly, Kai emerges from the ground in a submarine and instructs Nagasumi to hop in as they're going to rescue Sun. Luna reveals Yashio as a perverted lady-killing creep of a nobleman who's worse than a mob. Later, Gazaburo, Shark Fujishiro, Maki, and Ren are put in prison. Despite their powers, Gazaburo and Maki fail to penetrate the wall. Meanwhile, Yashio flaunts Sun's photo in front of everyone and reveals he hasn't done anything to her yet. Shiranui tries to stop Yashio from crossing the line, but he warns her by reminding her that her family can't go against a noble. On the other hand, Kai and the others successfully break into Yashio's palace. However, they land in the middle of Yashio's army and a battle begins. Meanwhile, Lunar uses her war song and degenerates everyone into something unbroadcastable again. Afterward, Nagasumi runs to the main hall and meets Yashio. He orders Shiranui to kill Nagasumi, and it is revealed that Shiranui is a training swordswoman who can't disobey Yashio's order. Much to Nagasumi's surprise, Shiranui feels guilty and decides to aid him in the cause of justice. Suddenly, a sea dragon pops out of the ground and attacks them, but Gazaburo intervenes. Afterwards, Yashio orders his elite guard to kill the enemy, but Maki uses her liquid machine gun to attack them. Then, Masa, Shark Fujishiro, and Ren also join them in battle. Ren orders Nagasumi to retrieve Sun while Gazaburo successfully kills the sea dragon. Lunar and Kai also arrive to aid the Seto family, but another sea dragon pops out. Shiranui, with the help of Ren's voice, kills it. However, a third sea dragon comes out of the ground. Suddenly, President Edemy arrives to help the Sito family and kills the dragon. On the other hand, Nagasumi catches up to Yashio, but Yashio kicks him in the gut. Nagasumi screams and Sun finally snaps out of the hypnosis. Afterwards, Yashio points a gun at Sun, but Nagasumi intervenes and gets shot instead. Much to his surprise, Nagasumi transforms into a powerful human with the power of the Sun's love. He lands multiple blows at Yashio and defeats him successfully. Suddenly, it is revealed that Yashio's true form is an ugly catfish. Then, Nagasumi puts a ring on Sun's finger and expresses his wish to be with her forever. The next day, Nagasumi becomes a muscular man and their daily routine continues.